Meghan Markle didn't lose public trust overnight. There was no single scandal, no explosive revelation. Instead, something far more unsettling happened. Very slowly, very quietly, people began to ask a question they hadn't asked before. What if the story we were hearing wasn't false, but carefully managed? And once that question appeared, everything about Meghan Markle was heard differently. The beginning, a perfect story. When Meghan Markle announced her pregnancy, the world responded exactly as expected. The imagery was flawless. The symbolism was powerful. A modern duchess stepping into motherhood while rewriting royal tradition. From the beginning, Meghan Markle made it clear she would do things her own way. Privacy mattered, autonomy mattered, control over her story mattered. No definitive exposure, no dramatic collapse. Instead, something more realistic occurred. Trust thinned. And once trust thins, every future statement is weighed, not received. That's the cost, no headline captures. The final realization. For Prince Harry, the hardest truth wasn't criticism. It was realizing that the battle had changed shape. This was no longer about stopping intrusion. It was about explaining coherence, and coherence can't be managed forever. The story of Meghan Markle isn't about guilt or innocence. It's about modern public life, about what happens when narrative control replaces transparency, about how silence, once used as protection, can become a liability. Because in the end, the loudest damage isn't scandal, it's doubt. And doubt doesn't shout, it lingers. And once it does, no amount of control can fully erase it. Not accusations, not conclusions, just requests for clarification. And clarification is terrifying when multiple versions of a story exist, not because any are lies, but because they can't all be true at the same time. Meghan Markle's composure. Throughout it all, Meghan Markle remained composed. Projects continued, appearances were polished, language stayed controlled. To many, she appeared unchanged. But to careful observers, something subtle was different. The story no longer felt open, it felt curated, and curated stories demand more maintenance over time, not less. Nothing catastrophic happened. They measure consistency. This is where the tension between Meghan Markle and Prince Harry became visible, not publicly but structurally. Harry believed confrontation could end speculation. Meghan Markle believed momentum could outpace it. Both instincts made sense, but they pointed in opposite directions. One sought resolution, the other sought control, and control, when examined closely, always raises a question. What is it protecting? The slow shift in public tone. No headline announced the change, but the tone shifted. Supporters became quieter, critics became more analytical. Media coverage moved from emotion to structure. Instead of asking who is right, people began asking, do the stories align? That's a dangerous shift for any public figure. When legal language changes everything, legal filings introduced a new problem: context. Once personal timelines become relevant to credibility, privacy collides with process. This wasn't about breaking tradition. It was about breaking tradition without clarity. And clarity is the currency of trust. The internet does what it always does. When answers don't arrive, people go backward. Old interviews were revisited. Appearances were compared. Statements were placed side by side. Not to accuse, but to understand. And that distinction matters. This wasn't a conspiracy erupting. It was curiosity hardening into discomfort. Prince Harry and the pressure point. For Prince Harry, the situation was deeply personal. He had built his public identity around one mission: protecting his family from harmful narratives. But this time, the threat didn't come only from tabloids. It came from contradictions that no one was addressing. And when narratives enter legal environments, emotion stops mattering. Courts don't measure intention. At first, the public supported that completely. Why wouldn't they? Where curiosity replaced confidence. But confidence doesn't disappear all at once. It erodes. Royal observers began noticing small inconsistencies. Nothing dramatic. Nothing outrageous, just moments that didn't fully align. Public appearances felt different from one another. Timelines felt unusually tight. Information arrived in fragments rather than clear explanations. Supporters offered reasonable explanations, and they were right to. Pregnancy looks different on everyone. Public life distorts reality. But the questions didn't stop. They multiplied. The power of silence. Here's where Meghan Markle's story took a turn. Plans changed, expectations shifted, and yet no clear explanation followed. In public life, silence isn't neutral. Silence creates space, and space invites speculation.